Have you ever come across a scrapbook sketch and thought to yourself, wow, this would make a beautiful card? Today I'm here with the creative design team, and that's exactly what we'll be sharing all week long. Welcome back to my channel. I'm Julie, and for my project I will be completing an 8.5 by 11 scrapbook layout, and I will take that same sketch and create a couple of cards. I am working with this great sketchbook right here, and I am using the sketch on page 17. Now when I saw this sketch, I knew that it would make a really pretty card, so I'm going to use this page right here, which is the left hand side, and I'm going to show you how you can actually take a sketch and turn it into a card, and even how you can take an 8.5 by 11 and do a 12 by 12 layout. I've gone ahead and I've cut all of these pieces, and I'm going to take you along this process on how I'm creating my baby album. So for this video today, I'm actually doing Christmas photos, and you can see that although they're Christmas photos, I'm still keeping to the look and feel of my baby album, and I'm going to talk you through that process as we create and adhere all of these pieces down, and then we're going to move on to cards using this same sketch. Let's talk about a few of the choices that I've made for this layout right here. So here on the sketch, you see that there's a few stars, and I decided to create a few clusters with some snowflakes and a couple of sprigs. Now I did use this great die right here, and I know that it's retired, but you might also have this one from last year. So you've got a few sprigs that you can use here, and you'll see that I actually use these ones. So these are retired products, but you might have something in your stash, and you can see that it creates a really pretty cluster. Now my friend Chelsea always says that snowflakes are like flowers, and I tend to agree when I look at them here on this layout. The other thing that I did here was my title, and originally I did try and cut it on my Cricut. I don't know if you can see it here. The font that I chose for this album, it is very, very thin, and it didn't cut really well. And then I remembered that Erin shared a great video on how to do print and cut. And look at this now. It looks really good. I will list her video down below, and it was the perfect solution because I didn't have a lot of space for my title, but I really like the way that that turned out. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to add some mink ink to all of my cut pieces just to give them a little bit of definition, but I don't want to give them too much definition. I don't want them to stand out too much, but I do want them to stand out against the mink background that I have. So let me show you very quickly what that's going to look like. And I'm just going to do direct to paper. And if I rub it against my cut piece here, do you see how it gives it a really nice finish, but it's not too much. It's just going to highlight it against this page. We're going to go ahead and ink everything and start to adhere. So this is the base of the left-hand side, and this is the piece that's tying everything together in my album. So I'm going to add this right here, and I'm going to sneak it all the way to the edge. Because I did go ahead and I double matted my photos, they are taking up a little bit more room. And what I'm doing here is I'm leaving equal distance right here at the top. And then I'm going to add this little guy right here, and there's not much going on this photo at the bottom, so I can overlap that and it looks really good. And then my title here that has been printed and then cut is going to fit right here, and that's what I wanted to do. So I'm going to go ahead and adhere all of these pieces, and then I'm going to talk to you about these little embellishments right here. I will link the Cricut design space file down below where you will have access to this circle right here and these really pretty snowflakes. If you don't have the snowflake, this particular one, you may have to purchase it, and if you do have it, just feel free to cut away and use them for your layouts. So let's talk about these clusters, and you can see that when you put these down, they are really easy to form a cluster. So I'm going to add my little snowflake here. So I'm going to go ahead and add a little bit of greenery right here at the top. So I'm being mindful here that I'm not putting it on here because it's not going to show. So maybe this one is going to go down here. And then I'm going to add a little pop of red right like so. I really like the way that that really highlights the title right here. And then when you cut these guys, you have these inside pieces, and I think that they look really pretty. So I'm going to add a few here at the top, and I think I'm going to add a big one somewhere down here just to kind of carry that through. I'm going to start these two, and I'm going to add this little pine one right here, and the red, and then my snowflake, and this one here. So you can see how quickly that went on. I'm going to build this page very much the same way. I did do some journaling and not a lot of journaling because honestly I don't remember what was going on here. But what I do remember, and believe it or not, we still have this Santa. This Santa was my mom's favorite Santa, and he's been with us for like 3 decades, and we still have him. And it was just really, really fun to see how small I was against this big Santa. He was so big back then. So I'm going to adhere this down, but if we're talking clusters right here, on the sketch there was a bracket, and yes, I can leave this one as well. I'll also leave the M codes for Cricut because I find that it's sometimes hard to find some of the images. I did cut this one quite big, but I'm only really seeing the tip of it, which is carrying over that pattern on this side. And then I felt that I needed a little bit of a cluster on this side as well, bringing in a little bit more red. So we're going to go ahead and adhere all of this down. I wanted to take a moment and just show you how these clusters are going to go together and adhere them down. So basically I did add a few dots right at the back. I just cut them in half. And because this is hollow, so there's a hollow center to my snowflake, if I go traditionally, or is that even a thing when you do a cluster, if I start with my clusters right here and then I put this down, which is probably naturally what we would do, you can see that there's a little bit of a mess going on in the background. The first thing I did trim off the tails off of all of these little pieces so that they're not kind of joining up underneath this little snowflake. And I'm going to start with the snowflake. So I know that I want to build it right here. And I think I'm going to move this guy on this side just because if I put it on this side, it's touching the same pattern paper and it doesn't show as much. So I'm going to just kind of place them here. And then I know that this is where that snowflake is going to go. So let me just rotate it. I think it's going to go this way. So I'm going to adhere this one down first. And then I did go ahead and I did add a few of those dots, but you'll notice that there's no dots at the ends here, only because I know I have to sneak that underneath. So basically what I'm trying to do is create my cluster, but not have too much messiness in the background. I think this one's going to fit nicely just like so. And again, you can see that I've added my little dots, my glue dots, right at the top, not so much at the bottom, so that when I slide that in, I have like a little bit more play time if you want. So this one can go like this. Okay, so I like this one up here, but you see underneath this little guy, you kind of see a little bit of a mess. So I'm just going to take my scissors and I'm going to snip that one off. And then when I place this here, just like so, it just looks cleaner. Like there's not a whole bunch of messiness at the background. So you kind of have to plan it out a little bit more than a regular cluster, but I think that in the long run, it's going to look really pretty. So I'm going to add a little bit of glue on this one here. So that looks really pretty, and I hope that you can see I did take the time to cut all of the long pieces that would normally be hidden by a flower or something like that, because this piece is hollow. But I really do like the way that that turned out. Okay, before I move right along and create those really pretty cards, I just wanted to show you an example of how you can actually take an 8.5 by 11 sketch and put it on a 12 by 12 sheet, and instantly you have a 12 by 12 layout. Now, why would you do that? Well, one thing, if you're working with older pictures and you don't have a lot of pictures, working on an 8.5 by 11 format is a lot easier because you don't feel like you have to spread your photos across a 12 by 12 layout. But you can see right here that I literally just popped this right on top, and then I added a few of my little snowflakes here at the end. Now I could definitely make my title bigger and move my title over. I just wanted to show you an example of an 8.5 by 11 sketch, how it can be used on a 12 by 12 layout. And this here would look absolutely gorgeous if I was working on an album and my album was 12 by 12. All right, so let's clean the desk and let's start working on those cards. Okay, let's look at this card and look at the sketch. You can see that I did exactly the same thing. So for this card right here, I did exactly the same thing, even the same pattern paper, just to show you how cute it is when you take it down to a smaller format. Now, the circle kind of calls for up here, and on the card, I feel that it's kind of getting lost or it's floating too much. So the only thing I'm going to do here is I'm going to bring this circle down at the bottom. I'm going to continue on with the same embellishments and the same sprigs. But for this one here, I'm going to sneak them in the back of the circle. Of course, I'm going to add a really pretty little snowflake, and then I'm going to bring in this new stamp set. I think that that's really, really pretty, and I'm going to stamp that on the circle, and if you see, it fits perfectly. So I'm going to go ahead and season my stamp, and I think I'm going to stamp it with pine ink. It's going to look really, really pretty. Now, I used all of the leftovers. That was the other fun part. I used all of the leftover pieces to create this one. Now, let me show you the second one. So we're going to move this over here. And again, I was working with some of my leftover pieces, and you'll see here, I really wanted to use this, and I have two pieces. They're the right size, but they're in two small pieces, so that's okay. I am going to, let me show you what I did. I repeated the same pattern, but I flipped it over. Now, if you're working with pattern paper and this one here has words in it, just make sure that you flip that over as well. So we're going to add this one here. There's going to be an overlap right here, and we're going to hide that with the circle because I really do want to use this pattern paper here, and this one goes right here at the bottom, and I'm leaving equal distance. So I'm kind of fussing around here only because I don't have a full piece, but when I put my circle, so my circle can go right here, I think that that's going to look really good. I'm going to move this one like this, and then I'm going to add my Merry Christmas. Even though this is not a continuous piece, I think that this works out really well. So I just turned the sketch over, and this one here, I did the sketch exactly the way it was. So let me put these together. I like to start at each end and work my way towards the center. That way I know that I've got equal distance everywhere. So I'm leaving equal distance at the top and on the right hand side. I'm going to move along here, and I'm going to add this one. When you start adding your center pieces, you'll see that it's much easier to kind of see the space you have left, and you can definitely space everything out evenly. I'm excited to announce that our month-long annual 31 Days of Christmas Card event is now open for early registration. Come join me and the creative design team, where you will have unlimited access to 31 exclusive pre-recorded video classes featuring brand new Christmas cards, along with a printable PDF handout showcasing the complete artwork, as well as bonus cards, measurements, and assembly tips. I think we shared over 100 cards last year. Best of all, you can reference all of the video classes at your own pace in our private Facebook group. Don't miss out on this amazing opportunity. Register now. The link is listed below. As I was trying to test out my sentiment here, I realized that my ink pad was really dry, so I'm going to go ahead here and re-ink it. And you can see that it's really soaking into the pad, but now it stamps much better. So I'm going to stamp that sentiment on this piece right here, which is that little circle. And it looks really good. So when your images are not nice and crisp, just take a moment and re-ink your ink pad and you will see quite the difference. I'm going to go ahead and stamp the second one, and then all of the stamping will be done. All right, that looks pretty good. I'm just leaving it there so that it soaks in a little bit. And we're going to pop those with 3D foam tape. I'm just going to add a couple of strips here at the back. And the other benefit of taking a sketch from a scrapbook to a card, if you're working on it together, you have a lot of the same pieces laying around, right? So I have a lot of these sprigs that I cut for the layout, and now I can just use them for this really cute card. I like that that little sentiment fits right at the bottom, and I can tuck in those little sprigs right in the back. And I'm going to add my little snowflake right here. I've got those tiny little ones. I like that I can use those as embellishments, so I'm going to just pop those right here on the side, and this card is done. It looks really great. So we're going to move on this one here. Again, same sketch. I rotated the sketch. I did the same thing with those pieces of paper at the back. We're going to add our sentiment, and because that pattern paper came in 2 pieces, I was a little limited as to where I could put that sentiment, but you know what? Adding these little sprigs right here at the bottom fixed that instantly. So we're going to add them very much like the other card. We're just going to tuck them here and there, and we are going to complete this card here. So here you have it. You have one sketch a few different ways, and I hope that you've picked up a few inspirations while I was putting this card together. Okay, these are the completed cards, and aren't they super cute? They took no time at all, and that's because I was able to use this great sketch right here, which was made for a scrapbook layout, but I think that it looks really pretty and it lends itself really well to cards. Let's bring back the layout. So I've got my layout right here, and you can see that my tiny little card is exactly the same as this one. I even followed the exact pieces of pattern paper. And the reason for that is because when I was cutting up my pieces for my scrapbook layout, it naturally gave me pieces to do my cards. This is a really good way to use your scraps. I hope that you've picked up a few helpful tips in this video today, and if you did, don't forget to give it a big thumbs up. It really does help my channel grow. And like always, thank you so much for hanging out with me today. Don't forget to check the playlist. That will be listed at the end of this video and in the description box down below. You can find everything you're looking for there. The girls have created beautiful projects this week, and we love to share our ideas and show you different ways to use products you already have, or take a look at your sketches. You might want to do a scrapbook layout or even a couple of cards. Thanks again for hanging out with me today. Don't forget to check out the playlist right here on the right. I'll catch you in the next video. Bye for now.